So I have finally seen Once Upon a Time in the West, and did it meet my expectations? Find out next. How's it going, fellow cinephiles? This is Dominic from Film Overload, the channel where we talk about movies, pop culture, and everything in between. And yes, the intro kind of spoiled my retro review for today, but I finally checked out Once Upon a Time in the West. This is a 1968 spaghetti western directed by Sergio Leone, and I really enjoyed this film. Now, I will admit, this is my very first time ever experiencing a Sergio Leone film. I am aware of his other works like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Once Upon a Time in America, but this is my very first time experiencing a work of Leone. And I have to say, this was a very good first impression, in my honest opinion. Usually I go into the story of the film that I just recently watched, but this is going to be the first review where I'm not going to do that because I encourage you guys to watch this movie in any way you can. It's one of those stories that I just cannot simply explain because I would be doing it a disservice. This story is just fantastic. It is immersive, it is engaging. It just has that really strong intrigue factor, and it grips you right away from beginning all the way to the end. And it was just a really solid watch. And through Leone's direction, you really get this sense of the grand scheme of things when it comes to this particular genre. And Leone is just one of those directors that I've just noticed right away that just really enjoys that immersive experience, which makes me really excited to watch the rest of his work. And another thing about this movie was the writing. The writing in this movie is really well done. It doesn't try to go overboard. It's just this perfect line of style, but also substance as well. And through the writing, you really get a sense of who these characters are. And through Leone's great direction, you really don't know much about these characters until the story fully unveils itself, which also reveals all of the characters' arcs and their goals. So the writing in this also was really strong, in my honest opinion. But what made the writing of this movie so great was the performances of the entire cast. And I have to say, there are some really solid performances throughout the course of this movie, but the one performance that stood out to me the most was Henry Fonda playing Frank. Henry Fonda, classic Hollywood icon. He brings it once again to the big screen. I've never seen him in a Western before. I've seen him in other works, but I've never seen him in a Western in particularly. So this was a very different type of role that I'm used to for Henry, but Henry really brings it in this movie, and his chemistry with the other actors and the other characters throughout the course of this movie really helped his performance as well. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of other characters in this movie that were just fascinating as well, but him in particularly was just the most fascinating. But it really drove home those main ideas and those themes that this movie presents. Another couple of big highlights in this movie was the beautiful cinematography. That's the first one I want to talk about. The cinematography in this movie is just absolutely beautiful. The large landscapes of the Wild West just paints a beautiful image for this movie, and it really immerses you in the world and the movie itself as well. And through the cinematography in this movie, you really just get that sense of the grand scale of everything, and pair that with a absolutely beautiful soundtrack as well. I forgot the name of the composer for this movie, but I recognized his name when I saw him in the credits. But just a beautiful score for this movie, and you pair the beautiful soundtrack with the cinematography, and you really get something truly special, a true masterclass of filmmaking here. And once again, I do have one knock on this film that kind of knocked down some points off my final score, but that was the runtime. And yes, I know I mentioned this last video, but the runtime, you could kind of feel it a little bit towards the middle part of the film, but because of how engaging the story was, the pace didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to be, but it was kind of a nagging feeling after a while. You could just kind of tell that the movie was kind of longer, but once again, that did not hinder my story experience, because the story itself is what kind of saves the movie because of that slow pace. But overall, I thought Once Upon a Time in the West was a really, really solid introduction to director Sergio Leone. I'm very interested now in Leone's other work, and I want to get to them very soon, which I will be reviewing hopefully on this channel. The Western itself is kind of a dying genre in modern day Hollywood. I have no idea why either, because I personally think it is one of the most unique genres in film history. And you can tell very different stories through this genre, and very unique stories through this genre as well. So Hollywood should really bring this genre back, because I really think that you could really do a lot with this genre, especially nowadays. If you liked what you see, be sure to hit the like button, guys, hit the subscribe button as well, and turn on the post notifications so that you guys can get notified every single time I post a video. You can follow me on Letterboxd, which is right here. I post all of my movie reviews on Letterboxd. It helps me keep track of movies that I have watched, movies that I haven't watched, and movies that I will watch. I think you guys would benefit greatly from this app and this website if you are indeed lovers of cinema like myself. As always, guys, happy movie watching. Take care.